gentlemen, welcome to Marketing Monday, Wins and Fails on Wednesday, December 21st. But it is our last one before I leave for the holidays, and we have a lot to discuss. We need to talk about a man who's having a bit of a glow up of his own, and that is Sam Bankman-Fried. Let's give a win to SBF as he leaves the Bahamas for the United States. This is post-jail SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, here's the situation. Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested by authorities in the Bahamas and was requested to be extradited to the United States to face justice. He was fighting that. He said, no, I won't. You can't make me. I'm going to fight it legally. I will be staying here in the Bahamas. Then he spent 3 days in Bahamas jail. He spent 3 days in jail in the Bahamas and decided, yes, I will go. I will go to the United States. I don't know if they didn't have enough vegan shrimp, but he was immediately ready to go. And his plan, he says his plan, well, all right, there's two reasons he switched his opinion on this. What he says is, I want to go to the United States so I can be closer to the customers there and help make them whole. He says, it's all part of my plan to do the best I can to get the money back in the hands of customers. A true giving billionaire. Another reason that might be more probable is that if he goes to the United States, apparently it is much easier for him to get access to bail. Because in the Bahamas, they are not allowing any chance of bail, so he can't leave. There's a decent chance he might try to run. If he gets to America and posts bail, he might try to run. We need to really hope that that does not happen. Again, the evidence is overwhelming against him and very likely contains testimony from his ex-girlfriend, Caroline Ellison. What's up, YouTube frogs? One little bonus that I forgot to include in the live Marketing Monday that you are getting exclusive. You know how we mentioned Sam Bankman-Fried's ex-girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, very likely had gone to New York to flip on him, basically, and give evidence to the state in exchange for a lighter sentence. That was speculation until now, which has now been 100% confirmed. Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang are both confirmed to have been cooperating with the federal criminal case. They have 100% flipped. SBF is going down. Not only do they have mountains of evidence, but now they have official testimony from two people very close to him. The dude's dead to rights. And it's cool because we called this when she first showed up in a grainy footage in New York about like 3 weeks ago. So pretty sick. Excited to see what happens, but just want to show you guys that this is confirmed, not just speculation now, 100% locked in. He is looking like he's actually going to get taken down. You know, for the past few years, it feels like every rich and powerful person that did scams, basically the worst they would get is internet justice, which is like, you know, they would get yelled at or they would get shamed a little bit, but they wouldn't get any actual jail time or fines or legal recourse. You know, they would only get internet justice, and internet justice is just never really satisfying. And so for the first time, it feels like we are finally starting to see some real consequences, some real actual justice. And my justice boner is raging. It's literally such a positive feeling to see a system work to catch somebody that is committing the outright crime you're designed to stop. So I don't know about you, but for me, this is very exciting. I've been watching this closely, and let's hope it's a massive win and we get Sam Bankman-Fried to jail. But for now, he is looking good. Apparently, they won't let him play his favorite game, Storybook Brawl, in jail. So he has been allowed access to crosswords, and he's been dominating crosswords at a bronze level. So anyway, we'll see. But I think it's a win. He got extradited. Continuing, let's talk about the legal battle between Xbox and Sony. All right, we've been talking about it for every Marketing Monday, and it is heating up in a major way. Sony versus Xbox, the war for Blizzard. I'm gonna give a win to all of you who I assume wrote in letters to the CMA, Competitive Markets Authority, which is the UK version of our FTC that blocks mergers. What they do is a thing before they make a judgment, they allow open letters of people to send in and give their opinion on the merger. And I'm sure you guys were people that wrote in and said, hey, look, 2,100 emails were sent in, and people said, Sony and Nintendo are stronger than Microsoft in console gaming, and this merger will help Microsoft to compete more closely against them. So a lot of letters came in that were pro Microsoft, and I assume you guys did this. And then there was also arguments against. Those were like, Microsoft is already dominant in PC operating systems, and this merger is an attempt to gain so much position in gaming. Boring. Microsoft already has the resources to create an offering that competes with PlayStation without acquiring Activision. Boring. The merger would lead to consolidation and would set a harmful precedent in the gaming industry of acquiring large publishers rather than encouraging organic growth. Boring. Let Microsoft cook, baby. Let them buy 70 billion, dude. Anyway, I didn't know what to think because there were so many compelling arguments on both sides. And so I read the comments. Hokage V1 said, yikes. Lots of great points for the merger and a good amount of questionable points against the merger. So I was like, oh, Hokage V1 clearly thinks Microsoft should be allowed to buy Xbox. Let me see if I can learn anything more about this guy. This guy clearly must be an expert on antitrust law, monopolies. So I click at him. His banner is the Nigerian funeral dance meme. His location is block/mute equals owned. And his profile is you mad clown. And I was like, all right, what arguments does he have? And then I scroll down and he's got this amazing meme of Amber Heard as PlayStation and Johnny Depp as Microsoft. So actually, I've switched my opinion. At first, I thought this was kind of a bad merger. And honestly, Blizzard should suffer some consequences for their many mistakes rather than just getting a $70 billion payday to go to Microsoft. But when I see a random, I guess, teen comparing different billion-dollar corporations to the celebrities he likes and doesn't like legal team in a defamation lawsuit, now I know, dude. Now I get it. So, you know, there's many debates on both sides on this, but what it looks like is that both FTC and the CMA in the UK are going to be suing to block this merger, and Microsoft is going to fight it tooth and nail, and it's going to drag out for a while. It's looking like it's not going to be a quick merger. No matter what happens, Blizzard's going to be on its own for a good amount of time. And what that means, it brings me to my next win, is that if you are a Blizzard employee who was expecting to be a highly paid, cushy Microsoft employee pretty soon, and now you know that you won't, it's time to trade up. That's why I'm going to give a win to the COO of Blizzard Entertainment, who has decided to trade up his job to working as the CEO of BoredApe NFTs. I didn't think you could sink much lower than COO of Blizzard during the time of its crisis. What a good time, too. What a good time to be the leader of BoredApe NFTs as they tank in value. Blizzard execs might actually be cartoon villains. That's where we find himself. I'll give him a big win. That man did 16 years at Google, 2 or 3 years at Blizzard during the worst time, and then now BoredApe NFTs. Okay. Those are the business wins. Let's talk about something let's talk about you personally. Okay. We've talked about what's going on with billionaires and CEOs and et cetera, et cetera. And basically, let's talk about how this holiday season is shaping up to be kind of tough. I'm going to give my first fail, actually. My first fail is that there might be fewer Christmas presents under the trees because consumers are running out of money to spend. This is just straight up happening. This is the biggest December on December decline observed since the pandemic began. US consumers are under increasing financial stress and the trend has become more acute. Nothing acute about it, okay? It's ugly. Oh, I can't make an angle joke talking about the economic hardships of everybody. I can't make a pun when we're talking about everyone losing their fucking savings. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, no, in seriousness, basically the pandemic happened. There was free money for everybody. Then interest rates rose. Things started declining. And then for a while, everything seemed okay because everyone was buying stuff on credit. But now people's lines of credit are getting tapped out. People are running out of, or they don't want to increase their credit card bill anymore, or they've been putting everything on the card. They can't do it anymore, or they've been taking money out of their mortgage. They no longer have easy access to credit and they can no longer spend what they do. So we are in a tough economic time coming up. That being said, I have found a magical way, if you own a car, to make a little extra money, okay? And no, it's not Uber. As a Christmas miracle, this is a win. Apparently Santa or someone went around to millions of cars all over the world. Santa went around and he changed all of their mileage to be lower. Apparently, because the price of cars is tanking, and a lot of people owe more on their car than it's worth, there has been a huge spike in people illegally rolling back the odometer on their cars to pretend like a 100,000 mile car is a 20,000 mile car that's basically new or whatever. And of course, they couldn't be doing that because they're economically desperate trying to unload these cars as users and dealerships are doing. No, it's got to be Santa. But I do want to say, if for whatever reason you're Scrooge and you don't believe in Santa, please do some due diligence before purchasing a car anytime soon. The amount of fraud going on in the car world right now is at all-time highs because many dealerships are underwater. The collapse of Carvana is going to lead to liquidation of cars at an enormous rate, and car prices are tanking. So there are going to be a lot of good deals on cars. Make sure it's actually a good deal. Listen, this is not every car. This is probably something like 10 to 15%, but it's just the risk is rising. All of these dealerships are panicking. They're literally panicking that they've bought so many cars at inflated prices and you have to unload them and they're gonna take a big loss on all of them. Cars were the best performing asset over the pandemic. Yeah, exactly. And now it's crashing. It's crashing right now. How easy is it to roll back the mileage? Are you asking me on how to commit the crime? You got to Google it, bro. I have not rolled back my Honda Fit's mileage. But if the holiday season is approaching, you're worried about bills, maybe whatever, you're rolling back on numbers on cars, and you want to find ways to save money going into the holiday, well then, hey, I'd like to shout out today's sponsor, Rocket Money. RocketMoney.com/Atrioc. If you go there right now, you can download the app for free. Link your accounts. It shows you everything you're subscribed to. It literally just shows you all your bills in a clean, easy to use interface, and you can find out which ones you want to cancel. It'll even cancel them for you. It can also negotiate down your bills, and it'll only take a cut of what it saves. So you can use the app totally free, and if you wanted to use the negotiation feature, it'll also just take a cut of whatever it saves you. It's just a great way to keep track of apps. I sign up for a lot of things that I forget about. For me, it's often news articles. Because I have a thing where if I want to read an article, but it's behind a paywall, I get really impatient and I just pay. And then I read the article and then I forget about it. But I always want to cancel it. Rocket Money has allowed me to cancel it. I've actually become so much better at literally signing up for things and then canceling them when I'm done. Rocket Money is great. It's a free app. Check it out. RocketMoney.com/Atrioc. Thanks again for supporting Marketing Monday. Dead to dude pays for news. Somebody has to. You understand? If you're getting your news from this right now, yes, you're getting it for free. But somebody at some level had to pay so I could read actual real news. I can't just go watch TikTok, get the news, and give it to you. I have to read from journalists. Speaking of economics, so now we're going to jump into Asia. But today, we are not opening with Xi Jinping saying, "What's up, Beijing?" I'll get to that in a second. Instead, we are going a little further east or west, from wherever you to Japan, okay? We are going to Japan because as of like yesterday at 2 a.m., the Bank of Japan loses control. This is a big piece of news in the finance world that is not really being discussed yet. I want to break it down for you as simply as I can. Basically, when it comes to debt to GDP, you know, everyone talks about the national debt of the United States and a bunch of other countries. What you might not know is that by far the worst overspender in all governments is Japan. Japan has the worst debt to GDP in like the entire world. Japan's government spends money they don't have on everything. They are in massive, massive government debt. Been that way for a while. In fact, if you roll it back to, let's say, a 2008 financial crisis or even COVID, you know how we had this, right? We had Jerome Powell printing money like crazy. We need stimulus. Government's got to buy. Taxpayer money, print. You know how we had this? Well, apparently in Japan, this was small time. And instead of a money printer, they called it a money bazooka. That's not a joke. The Bank of Japan is trying to unwind Kuroda's bazooka stimulus. This is Kuroda. This is their equivalent of Jerome Powell. Haruhiko Kuroda is the head of the Bank of Japan. And this guy just dumped money on the market. Okay, so Japan has been inflating their currency at unsustainable rates. And now, in a world where everyone else is attempting to unwind that, raise interest rates, Japan has been the one holdout. Of all major advanced economies, Japan has been the one that's been like, nah, we're gonna keep printing money. And then at 2 a.m., that finally showed cracks. Finally, they sort of started to realize that there's no fucking way we can keep doing this. And so basically what they're doing is they made a very small tweak that is a sign of something bigger. And this is all very boring, but there's a band called the yield curve control that allows the interest rates on government bonds to stay within a small, narrow window. They let it get wider. But they were basically forced to let it get wider because they know that they have to shift their policy and get tighter. So explaining it simply, what they're going to happen is they're going to throw this guy under the bus. They're going to blame it all on this guy. They're going to cause a big recession in Japan. They're going to raise interest rates. All of the debt's going to get unpayable. Zombie companies are going to die in Japan. They're going to have all the problems we have here, but 10x magnified, and they're going to blame it all on this guy. That is what's going to happen in Japan, all right? Japan is in the middle of a big pivot to try and save their currency from inflating to zero. Japanese currency, if you notice, $1 was getting you more yen for every day. That's where we're at in Japan. I just want you to know that like this is it's a big problem. And the debt bubble in both Japan and China is massive. But Japan's is like the world's worst. Japan's debt bubble is absolutely crazy and there's no real way they can get out of it. So what they're gonna try and do is just kick the can down the road. Then in China, let's get to our actual finale and favorite part.
我在北京
Every time he says it, dude. What is up in Beijing? What is going on? For some reason, a huge line of hearses are queued up at Beijing crematoriums, but China is reporting no new COVID deaths. Interesting. No, maybe they're just burning the hearses because nobody is dying. So for me, it's not just about telling you the news and what's going on in China. I wanted to show it to you. So because China's new COVID policy could best be described in 3 words, I wanted to make it visual. Let it rip. As we reported in Xi Jinping's No Good, Very Bad Week, a video that got blocked by YouTube, but check it out if you can. After the COVID protests, the COVID lockdown protests in China very recently, China's strategy was to take their years-long COVID-0 experiment and say, okay, fine, it's over. And then with no plan, no testing, no wind down, no mass vaccination campaign, they just immediately stopped. And so immediately, as of right now, like as we're speaking, Omicron and basically every COVID variant is ripping through China. Let it rip is basically what Xi Jinping has said in response to all of the protests in his country. He's like, fine, you want me to stop COVID-0? We're gonna let it rip. And he has let it rip in a major way. China's approach to COVID is let it rip. All restrictions have been scrapped. Infections are exploding. I wasn't expecting China's exit strategy to be so rapid. And that's basically what we've said, is they've done a fast and explosive COVID reopening, a risky approach that's worrying observers. So they stopped testing. They're denying that COVID cases are rising, but they're obviously rising. ERs are overwhelmed. There's a mass shortage of like antivirals and cold medicine, things like that. If you are somebody who only cares about stocks and not human lives, is a good thing for their economy because COVID-0's lockdowns had caused many factories to shut down. And so now that they're just opening up and saying, fuck it, if you die, you die, it is leading to some turnaround in like their stocks, specifically in combination with this. So at the same time as this is happening, they have decided to allow United States to audit the data of companies that are listed in America. So things like Alibaba, Tencent, other companies that you can buy stocks of that are Chinese, they were going to be delisted from America. Now they're probably not. So combination of this plus the reopening is causing the stocks in China to actually skyrocket. But overall, their economy is doing pretty bad. Home sales sinking, retail sales sinking, and so things are looking pretty bad. I'm not saying the collapse is coming. I'm just saying this is a really, really bad time in China right now. But the worst thing at all for Xi Jinping is not that his populace was really mad at him, and now they're all getting COVID, and the economy's in trouble. The worst thing for Xi Jinping is that he's lost a friend. Because I made this graph showing Tim Cook of Apple saying friendship ended with China. Now India is my best friend. Because Xi Jinping and Tim Cook had a really tight bond. Apple had made all of their products at Foxconn factories in China for the longest time. But now, officially, Apple has found a happy home in India. They are officially making a full supply chain pivot out of China. Now, it's not immediate, but they have made clear their plans to get out of China. And so this friendship, which has produced so much economic value for both Tim Cook, Apple, and Xi Jinping, is finally come to an end. It remains to be seen what happens to this, but I think it's part of a larger trend of all companies that do business in both America and China are having to decouple from one or the other because it's nearly impossible to have a supply chain that goes through both without getting shut down by one of the governments. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what's going on in the world of marketing and business of the past week. Thank you for watching Wins and Fails, and I will be back after the holidays with more content and full Marketing Mondays on some very interesting subjects. I hope you guys enjoyed the update on what's going on.
Check it.